Hello and welcome to Murphy's Garden, and in this visit you join us at Arley Hall. Arley Hall is in the village of Arley in the county of Cheshire, just south of Lymm and north of Northwich. It is the much loved home of Lord and Lady Ashbrook and has been in their family since the 15th century. The gardens are amongst the finest in Europe and have been created over the last 270 years by successive generations, and there are two distinct areas which include 8 acres of formal gardens and 7 acres of woodland, and in this video we will explore the formal gardens. This is my very first visit. I'm really excited to see this garden as I've heard so much about it, especially the famous herbaceous borders. Olivia has been before, but in the winter, so at this time of year it will look very different. And the entrance to Arley is down an avenue of pleach lime trees leading to the clock tower. These were planted in the mid-1800s and the limes receive an annual clipping which can take up to 2 weeks to complete. However, once done is quite low maintenance for the rest of the year and makes for a really impressive entranceway. Arley Gardens are open daily from 10 AM to 5 PM, and there's also a kitchen garden cafe for something to eat and a children's play zone. The hall is open several days each month, so check the website for opening dates if you want to see inside. So let's begin our tour. And we pass by the Cruck Barn, and this is thought to have been built at the same time as the 1469 house, and each pair of the crooks was formed from a single oak trunk split down the middle. Each crook was jointed and assembled on the ground and then raised into position and tied in with horizontal members. As we approach Arley Hall, you may recognise it. It might look familiar because it has been used in lots of films and TV things, probably the most famous being Peaky Blinders and Fool Me Once. You'll notice it's a bit of a wet day. In fact, it's pouring quite hard, but the advantage of that means that we've practically got the whole place to ourselves. There's hardly anybody here, which is lovely, so we get to explore these beautiful gardens in solitude. So let's go and explore. And this is the most exciting part of coming to any new garden, is that moment of discovery, and a garden like this where you can't see everything at once and deciding where to go first. So we're going to go into here. This is called the Flag Garden. And the Flag Garden was named so because of the stone flags which form its paths. It was made in the 1900s by Antoinette Egerton Warburton as an enclosed sanctum for her own use. The central beds are planted with floribunda roses, and then over here we've got ageratum, which looks lovely, and then round the floribunda roses it's just planted with dwarf lavender. So it's a lovely enclosed little area, really sweet little place to come and sit. And it's got these big tall yew hedges which surround it. And this is a great example of how yew can regenerate. So they've cut it all hard back, and look at the new growth that's coming through on that old wood. So you really can, look, see that big hedge at the back. They're doing restorative work to an old hedge, but it will all come back again, so it's always good to see that. And the gardens are all surrounded by these mature yew hedges, and I think it just builds intrigue and excitement to see what's round the next corner. And the downside of having all these hedges is all the work that's involved in cutting them. We've been busy at home cutting our own hedges, but they've got even more here to cut. Herb and scented garden. Do that after. So exciting. And it's so difficult to know what to do first, but we'll head into here through this wall. So this is the rose garden where Olivia came as a student, how many years ago? 2 years ago, to do pruning, winter pruning of the roses. So she said afterwards it was, what time of year? February?
Yeah, it was freezing.
She was freezing and she couldn't feel her fingers. Mind you, we're back now in August and it's not exactly hot, but it's warmer than February. Oh, look. Oh, isn't that lovely? Cosmos, aren't they beautiful? And the apricot colour, really, I bet the bees love those. They look such a sort of iridescent colour, don't they? They've got kind of pink in the middle and then orange. Wonder what they're called. They're lovely. That's that verbena. This is verbena Bampton, which we're seeing such a lot of in all the gardens we've been to this year. And some artichokes. Yeah, I like that. Oh, this is such a pretty arbour, isn't that gorgeous? This is very pretty planting here. Got cornflowers, white cosmos, Kochiana. Just look at the view from here. And just a photo of what this garden looks like in spring. See, everywhere you look, there's a sort of hidden view, which makes you are intrigued to look what's round behind this hedge. Just adds interest to a garden, doesn't it, when you can't see everything at once. We've got the vegetable garden here. So plenty of beans. And a fruit cage. We've got some lovely raspberries in there. I wonder what they do with all those beans. Broad beans in the middle. That's a good idea, to do broad beans up the middle and then runner beans over the top. Strawberry patch. And these are their squashes. Squashes have struggled to get big this year because there just hasn't been all that much sunshine. Peas. It's a nice idea, Livy, with the broad beans up the middle and then runner beans over the top, so when one goes over, the next one comes. Yeah, for picking, yeah. Lots of peas. Oh, and the onions. Apologies for the noise of the plane, but we are quite near Manchester Airport, and also apologies for the noise of the raindrops hitting my umbrella. I hope it's not too distracting. Onion Sutton, all the different types of onions. Red Baron, Pink Panther, and then we've got leeks, lots of leeks. And then all the brassicas over here. It's lovely that we've got the sort of ornamental, pretty garden in the middle and then the vegetables around the outside. It looks good, doesn't it? A nice layout. And what shape is that hedge? Is that a circle then? So the hedge doesn't go completely right round, it just goes, just like to look at the structure. So they've got 3 curves and then behind it, sort of, because traditionally the vegetables had to be out of sight, didn't they? Whereas we're now all growing vegetables and edibles amongst our flowers, but in those days the vegetables weren't to be seen. Look at these, Liv. Wow. See, when I used net like that, the butterflies just flew through the net when it was that size. They watched me put it up and then they just sort of limboed underneath. That's a pretty perfect cabbage patch. A few dahlias here. And these are larkspur and the sweet peas, sweet William, and corn. Oh, and lots of lettuce. It's quite good. They've got a kind of, this metal thing around it all. It just holds it all up, doesn't it? Yeah, lettuce around the outside. Does that go? Oh, it doesn't go right round, obviously, because you have to be able to get in. It just goes to there, and then sunflowers at the front. I like seeing how people do things. It's always interesting to see. Yeah, just bark, paths. What have we got here? Radishes and lots of lovely lettuce. Lettuce looks good, doesn't it? Oh, I wouldn't mind picking some of that. That would be nice. Oh, that's the rat's tail status. The current kitchen garden, as you see it today, was redesigned by the present Lady Ashbrook in 1993. The centre area leads to this beautiful, delicate wirework arbour and is of decorative nature, and it's surrounded by vegetable beds which include brassicas, alliums, potatoes and legumes, which we've seen. The garden also includes a potager and fruit cages and supplies the kitchen garden cafe with lots of fresh produce. And from the decorative arbour we look down and we can see just in front of the vinery, this is a vinery running along the back, which we'll explore in a minute, but just in front of that we've got another kind of arbour made this time of more of a living arbour, so we'll go and just explore that. What's this over here? Apple? What are they, cherries? Oh, crab apples. Oh, isn't that lovely? Oh, I love that. I couldn't think what these were called, but they're cleoms. I'm sure they are, because I grew some cleoms from Sarah Raven one year, and it was a pink one, but that's what they're called. And we'll head now into the vinery. So completely different feeling here, nice and warm and toasty, and dry actually. The vinery was built in 1872 to 1873, and the fig trees within were probably planted shortly afterwards. The end section is always used to produce tomatoes, which are used in the gardener's kitchen cafe, and the remaining 3 sections are decorative. So highlights to look out for are passion flowers throughout the summer, ornamental ginger lily in August, and the tender rhododendrons in early spring. So a lovely area. Behind this large yew hedge lies the scented garden, and it was created in 1977. For 100 years, the herb garden had been the children's garden, containing 4 large beds, each cultivated with enthusiasm by succeeding members of the family. This piece of ground had always been previously uncultivated, but it is now planted with aromatic flowers and shrubs, which provide scent throughout the year. Oh, look. Oh. Oh, this is a lovely garden, isn't it? I just love it. Look, and then I love gardens where it's all, look. Oh, the hedge. Oh, look at the box hedging. Yeah. So, more yew hedging. And look how they've done, so the big outer hedge, and then they've got the inner hedge which comes down from up high down low. That looks nice, doesn't it? Oh, I'll have to put my umbrella down for this because I don't think I'm going to fit through. Oh. Yellow on top. The new growth must come through yellow. Oh, that's that chocolate, isn't it? Is that chocolate? It's Cosmos, isn't it? Cosmos atrosanguineus. It's a perennial, but I find it's not that hardy. It didn't make it through the winter for me.
Yeah, it does.
I haven't got a very good sense of smell. And then a little seat at the back there, just for a little private tete-a-tete. Is that a Daphne? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh look, they're cutting these into shapes. Look, is that a squirrel or something? And an owl and a squirrel, I think it's going to be. Sadly, this scented garden is wasted on me because I don't seem to have much of a sense of smell anymore. It seems to have gone as I've got older. Here's the house. The present house was built between 1832 and 1845 by Roland Egerton Warburton to the design of George Latham, a Nantwich architect. It occupies the site and incorporates some of the materials of earlier houses. The chapel, designed by Anthony Salvin, was built during the same period, and in 1968 the rest of the building, comprising of kitchen, servants' quarters, nursery and the like, some 70 rooms in all, was demolished to reduce the cost of maintenance. This caused gaps which seriously damaged the architectural integrity of the building, and so in 1987 it was decided to rebuild the lost wing as 5 new houses and so create the original courtyard to the northwest of the main block. It's actually raining quite hard now, isn't it? No, we're having a good time, so it doesn't matter. I've got my umbrella. Go on, you lead the way. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, and wow.
Oh, wait.
Gosh, that's stunning. Oh my goodness. It's the same distance, isn't it? It's the same width.
But when you look at it, it's not identical, but it really works.
Yeah. Could he just come and do mine like this? Oh, they've got that white phlox, which I really don't like. And even the heleniums, which I don't like, I've got as well. Sedum, I've got that.
I wonder if it looked different in the early
Oh,
start
it's
of the year.
just beautiful.
Now it's all oranges
Look
and
at that. What's
yellows.
that? That's a dahlia. Look at the colour of that dahlia.
Yeah, the sedum looks really nice as well.
It's all,
Beautiful helenium. That
yeah. How would they get in there
Rebecca.
to work it? I mean, how do you garden? Maybe they don't at this time of year. You can't really, can
I
you?
don't think they would.
You can't have any weeds, I guess. Oh look, there's a, so halfway down then there's a little path that goes through that hedge. Isn't that like sweet?
I think there's another one down there as well.
This is just stunning. They've got some shrubs. Is that a berberis?
Yeah.
And that's that eupatorium at the back. That's the thylictrum, asters, crocosmia, Nephophia. Everything's so lush.
Helenium, that's beautiful. That
See,
one.
nothing of mine grows this big anyway, does it? That's that lovely eupatorium. We're just saying about the eupatorium that we've got. I might get rid of it and just, you know, we've got that one, but the other one we might get rid of.
Nephophia.
Yeah, look, that's the solidago, which I do like as a filler. To be honest, we've got most of these, but theirs just looks a lot better. Ours,
Even the aster, like you've got that, haven't you? That one.
I haven't got that one. Oh yeah, that one I have. Yeah, that one I haven't. That's that Goldstrom, isn't it?
Yeah, Rebecca Goldstrom. I think I need some of that.
Yeah,
We need to go around doing closer.
yeah.
And while I pan around the borders, you might be interested to know the history of this border. So the double herbaceous border is the best known feature of the gardens and is thought to be the first of its kind planted in England. It is shown on the 1846 Arley estate plan. And when it was first planted, the twin flower beds stretched in an unbroken line between the yew hedge finials at either end. However, after some 30 years, the beds were each divided into 4 sections, separated by yew buttresses. And the beautiful wrought iron gate leads into the walled garden, which we'll come to in a minute. But we'll just continue up these borders. I want to talk to Gordon Bailey, who's the head gardener. We're going to be meeting him here just shortly to have a good chat and ask him lots and lots of questions. I've got burning questions to ask him about these borders. But we'll do that in a separate video because I think it's going to be too long a video otherwise. So we'll keep that for next week's video. But I hope you'll join us for that. I think it'll be quite valuable for us all. And every garden needs a feature, and this is it. This stone building, which is at the end, and the herbaceous borders lead the eye up to the end where you can sit and look back over the border. And if you want to burn off a little bit of energy, then there's a tennis court just tucked away behind this hedge. Or if, like me, you'd rather just sit here and admire this beautiful, beautiful view. And even though it's a wet day, I think this is a real test to any garden if it looks good on a wet day. And this garden, nothing is taken away by the dreary weather because the planting, the sultry colours, the oranges, the burnt oranges and yellows and you know, dark pinks and things, it looks beautiful and it makes this garden feel really warm. Even on a day which isn't so nice, it feels sheltered because of the big hedges, it feels contained, it feels lovely. And it's a real credit to the staff, the gardeners who put on this every year, this wonderful show every year for us, a real credit to the team. So we'll have a chat with Gordon and find out how the magic is done, a little peek behind the curtain to find out how they get these borders to look this good, because I think this is a real achievement. And we'll head now into the walled garden. So this is a huge walled garden. And originally, up until 1939, this was one of the kitchen gardens attached to the house, which is quite typical in many large country homes. In 1960, it was changed and the pond was installed and 4 large doik beech trees were planted. So these are the beech trees that you see around the pond. and they're a fastigiate form of beech, so they grow in that upright form. And then the heraldic stone pedestals arrived in 1968, and they came from the roof of the house when the front porch was removed. And the fountain in the centre of the pond was placed there in 2006 and was a gift from the Friends of Arley in memory of Elizabeth, Lady Ashbrook, who died in 2002. And this garden contains large swathes of grass, and although there look to be beautiful plants all around the perimeter, I think because of the grass and the path, you tend not to want to walk on the grass, you tend to stick to the path. So just looking at how you plan your garden and how you want people to move around the space is really important. So just think about that when you're planning your own garden. You can exit this garden in another way, but we'll go out the way we came, back through here, because we want to cut across through the perennial borders on either side and head to see what lies beyond these hedges. And we're heading now into the rose garden, and it's surrounded by shrub roses which were originally planted in 1961 when a former topiary garden was removed. And it links up with the Ilex Avenue. This is another really iconic part of the garden. It features 14 home oaks, Quercus ilex, and the unusual shape and size of these clipped trees is partly due to chance. They were originally pyramidal during the First World War, but they were left unclipped for several years and then reshaped as these giant cylinders. These impressive trees are clipped annually, so they've just been clipped in July by 2 gardeners, and it can take around about 10 days to finish. Surrounded by shrub roses, here is the Tea Cottage. This charming, quaint little cottage is known as the Tea Cottage because it was used for tea parties, and it now contains plaques removed from the octagonal tower of the original Arley Hall. So we'll go and have a look inside and perhaps shelter from the rain for a little bit. I wonder how we get tea brought to us. How do we get tea service? That'd be nice. Just have to put my umbrella down. Oh, it's lovely inside. Oh, isn't that lovely? Or we could just light the fire and get some tea brought to us. That would just be perfect.
Look, I love little holes in it.
When there's a little hole in the hedge, I can't resist going and sticking my nose in to have a look. It must appeal to my nosiness. Oh, and look, it leads right back out to the herbaceous borders again, and aren't they beautiful? So we'll leave the formal gardens behind and we'll head into a slightly more informal part of the garden. Sometimes this area can be easily missed by visitors or stumbled upon by accident, but it's a beautiful garden and particularly looks good in spring, I'm told, although it still looks pretty good to me now. And it's called the Rootery. It's a rock garden. It's made up of lots of rocks piled on the side. It's, as I say, it's quite informal compared to the rest of the garden. It's got these winding paths which weave their way through all the planting. It's got some water. It's got a pool which is lined with lots of ferns. It feels quite wet, although it is a wet day, but it feels wetter, and the planting contrasts nicely with the rest of the garden. So we're going to go down these steps. Can be a little bit slippy on a day like today. And here is a domed cave made out of rock, so can't resist a quick look in here. Ooh. And we'll head back. And this garden has got lots of azaleas and rhododendrons, beautiful acers. It's quite sheltered, it feels quite sheltered here. Another lovely acer there. So a very pretty part of the garden. And I'm not sure, but I think this area then just converges naturally with the Grove and the Woodland Walk. So the Grove is a well-established arboretum and a woodland walk of about 7 acres. And again, an informal part of the garden in a woodland setting. And it's been a passion of Lord Ashbrook for the last 50 years. It contains lots of spring bulbs, a large collection of rhododendrons and azaleas, and other wide-ranging flowering shrubs and exotic trees, including varieties of oak, birch, magnolia, prunus, sorbus, malus, hydrangea and calmia, which is a mountain laurel, which I'd never heard of, but that looks beautiful as well. And this garden is particularly colourful in spring. And look at this, this is unusual. This is Indian pokeweed or phytolacca. It's absolutely different and unusual, looks really exotic. And it's now absolutely chucking it down. Olivia's supposed waterproof coat has now given up on its waterproofness and she is now soaked. I've got my umbrella, so I might let her under my umbrella. And I think we'll start heading back, but as we come out of this area, we're just entering into what they call the rough garden. And the rough garden is kept as a semi-wild site for trees, shrubs and naturalised bulbs, and is adjacent to another garden which is called the fish garden. And the fish garden was once a sunken bowling green, and then after the First World War it became a sunken grass tennis court, and the remainder was a fish garden. The name dating back to when the pond contained goldfish. The pond no longer contains goldfish, as visiting herons tend to devour them, so they haven't been replaced. It's a lovely formal garden, looks particularly good in the spring when the blossom is on the trees. And we're back now with the formality of the Quercus ilex cylindrical domes, and aren't they stunning? And I think just trying to reflect on what we've seen today, the garden is just stunning. It's honestly one of the nicest gardens I've ever seen. I've never seen double herbaceous borders like this. It's quite unusual to see forward facing, facing each other herbaceous borders. I can't think of many that I have seen before, and how they've done it so well. So it'll be interesting to chat and hear and listen to what Gordon has to say, but also then to relook at the borders and study them in greater detail, how they're working, things that they've included, but also things that they haven't included. Talking about aspect and soil and all of those things, just so we can get ideas on how to reinvigorate and do our borders and try and get them to a higher standard. I'm not sure I can achieve it at this level, but certainly get them to a higher standard than they currently are. And it would be lovely one day to come back and see inside the house, because then I think you get a feel for the people and the family that live there. But it really does come across that it's a real family home and a family garden, and so well loved. And just walking between these yew hedges, just look at that lovely red flower, that crawling, creeping flower all over the hedge. And just spotted a little sign here for the name of it. So it's called, let's just zoom in, Tropiolum speciosum, something like that. And good to know also that there is Arley Plant Nursery selling a lot of the plants that we see growing in the garden. But rather unfortunately for me, our car is quite full and I don't think I can buy anything today, which is a real shame. And that's really the end of our tour. The garden very much reminds me of Woollerton Old Hall, but on a larger scale. I wonder if Leslie did visit Arley to get inspiration, because I love the way it's got those interconnecting, lots and lots of hedges and interconnecting rooms, borrowed views, all of those things that we talked about when we discussed Woollerton Old Hall. So full of ideas, lots of inspiration from this garden, and join us again in next week's video for more inspiration. So thank you very much for watching, and join us again then. Bye for now.